Today on Artful Things, let's spill some tea is the theme, and I'd like to give you the tea on me and how I was led into art journaling. I'll also be sharing who was my inspiration and even a flip through towards the end. On part two, it will be the making of Let's Spill Some Tea, and you don't want to miss that. So please get a cup of tea, sit back and relax and enjoy the show. I'm your host, Serena, and this is Artful Things. Let's get started. I would like to share a little story about how I got started with art and my art journey in general. During the mid 1990s, there were a lot of independent mortar and bricks art rubber stamp stores. Rubber stamp stores where you can buy all kinds of embossing supplies, paper, but they mainly specialize in these adorable, cute rubber stamps. I was part of the 500 club at one of these stores, and that meant that I spent at least $500 in supplies, which gave me a little bit of a 10% discount, which that's cool. There was also a morning show called the Carol Duvall. Now that takes you back. It was a little crafting show. I would have my little coffee and then watch all these little cute crafting ideas. They were cute. And of course, you can't forget the great Donna Dewberry on HSN, the Home Shopping Network, back in the day, again in the 90s. And the way she would just do that one stroke was just amazing. So all of these things kind of came into factor during, I would say, between 96, 97, 8-ish, that era. And then life began living. So to fast forward about 20 years later, the year is like 2014, 2014, where life can be something else. And it was a spiritual calling for me to be still and find out what is my purpose. So I had to move back home to family, which, oh boy, that was keen. And fortunately, and I was blessed that I was able to stay and figure out what it is that you want to do, Serena, and there you go. So I remember really liking stamps and doing my stamp, doing the stamps and the embossing, and I really liked that. But this is 2014-ish. And I said to myself, I don't think those stores even exist now. It's a whole different world. And they don't. But what does exist is Amazon and the internet. And everybody went from brick and mortar into the digital age. And that's where I was able to find all kinds of supplies and stamps. They went from They went from blocks to the rubber clingy as we know now, which that's cool. Okay, so like I said, everything was in the digital era of shopping on the internet and Amazon. Also, at 2014 was the discovery of YouTube for me. I mean, I've always known about YouTube and was a YouTuber, but it was really coming into mainstream in my life to the point where that's all I was, just on YouTube. And if I had any questions at all on what to do and how to do it, I would always go to YouTube. So since there was no more brick and mortar and what are people doing, that's when I discovered Tim Host and Dylusions and the whole Ranger family, along with other great artists, Jane Davenport, just to name a few, okay? And the only brick and mortar was Michael's and Hobby Lobby. Yay! Yay for Hobby Lobby and Michael's. I figured that, okay, this could be something because it's got me excited. And I was in a unique position just to be at home to figure it all out. And one of the first things was mixed media, which you can like throw any and everything into something with a purpose. So the first thing was a junk journal. I found that very fascinating. I'll probably be going over more pictures, but this was my very first junk journal, a little book. And well, I'll be going over it. This was, like I said, my very first. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take the plunge. So it was around the Christmas. Yeah, Christmas of 2015. 2015 was my very first Dylusions artsy book. I do a run through too. Ooh-wee. The cool thing about art journaling is you can look back on your work and see how far you come, or just for the swatches, you know, give you other ideas. And then this one was February of 2016, because I remember it was Valentine's. This one here. At the time, I had to get over myself, and I was my own worst enemy when it came to all this. It was like, you need to do something that makes more sense, and what you're doing with glue and paper. But you know what? I went through all that, and I still persevered, and I'm still going to do this. That's what I said. Let's flip through some junk journals, that is. Well, here are my 4 main journals. And I made a mistake earlier when saying that this was my very first junk journal. It's my very first book junk journal. A book that I found at, you know, these used bookstores, and you like the character of the book itself. And I had a blast just going to town with scraps and yep, that's a good one there. I love that saying. I am sustained by the love of God. This brings me back. I'll probably be popping in and out. We'll let the art tell the story. Okay, now here's where I took the plunge, and this is the very first junk journal, and I decided to go with Dylusions. This was back in 2015, around Christmas time, and the wonderful world of Serena. I love it. And this page here was my very first page. I never start at the beginning. I always start a few pages in because you don't know. You don't know how you're feeling when you get to the end. I'm a big Sailor Moon fan, so I had to devote some pages for her. Journaling is good for the soul. It helps you unwind, and it takes you into a different world if you let it. I enjoy looking back on some of these creations, and a lot of times I get my inspirations from, good Lord, look at that, from such horror. No, I get my inspiration from my earlier work, even though it's cringing at times. Ooh-wee. It's also a good way to audition or test drive certain media or techniques. And here's the baby. I picked this one up in February of 2016. Another thing about journaling, art journals, is you really have to kind of keep it simple. You can't really pile a lot of stuff on when you with canvas or art board. What is it? Canvas board. It's paper on paper with color. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I kind of want to close the book when I'm done. Now it's time to make new memories from this brand new art journal I picked up in 2025. Alrighty now, let's get the party started with my brand new journal and one of my favorite little teacup dice. I think I picked that little guy up on Amazon. And since the theme is let's spill some tea, need teacups. Okay, I never start on the first page. Like I said before, I like to kind of start in a few pages in. I decided to keep this simple and sweet, considering the first half was me chit-chatting. Talking head. I mixed up some paint with some heavy matte medium. I believe that's what that is, or a heavy gloss. One of the two. Just to give it some bulk. Kind of stand out in the stencil. As always, again, thank you for sticking around this long in the video. I hope that my art is truly inspiring and for you to get out and create something wonderful. I'll be chiming in and out as I usually do on some of the highlights or whatever comes into my tiny mind. I do plan on doing more series on my journey on how I got started in art. I believe the next one will probably be me and YouTube and our affair, our love affair of so many years. But I thought I would start at the beginning with the journaling, the art journals, and how far I've grown. Here I am, just kind of dabbing some more color on top, like I would think, leaves would be. And here's the reveal. Ta-ta! I love it. By using a little bit of a heavier gel base, you get texture. There's a still shot for ya. Okie pokey. So, I always think of stencils as the under painting. And then you layer and embellish or whatever comes to mind. And for this occasion, I decided to go with Q-tips. You make those little rosebuds or little things that kind of fill in the blank spots. You know what I mean. You gotta put in some swirly swirls. Alrighty, here's the die cuts. Well, the die cut machine, and I cut those little T sets out. I wanted to show the die cut machine just in case someone didn't know what it looked like. We're not all crafters. I found this vintage washi tape that was been in my stash for years, and it still works. Yay for washi tape! And there's the lovely teacups. I decided to do 2 because why not? It's my tea party. Just spreading on a little bit of matte medium, the fluid, for a great adhesive. Matte medium of any sort, of any brand, is good. It helps melt the paper into the paper. Well, I shouldn't say any brand, but most brands do the trick. We'll just say that. The cool thing about this medium is it dries clear, and you don't have that shiny glue if you were like using regular glue. So that's really cool. Alright, now we're gonna work on the opposite page. And yeah, I covered that other page up for suspense. No, also for protection. I can get kind of crazy when I am creating. Here we are, just roughing up those edges, and then we're going to ink them because it's cool. I found some scrap paper, so I'm going to make like a border. It's going to be cool. It's going to rule. Yeah, more of the matte medium adhesive. It does dry flat, and it's cool. I printed out "Let's Spill Some Tea" on my printer. Inking up the edges. I plan on putting those little dot adhesive to give it like a little bit of a raise. You'll see that. Alright, so here are one of my very first die sets that I've ever purchased. This is like a few years ago. You can just see how it cuts out. Awesome. Now I mean me. I will be laying out the page now. As we approach the grand finale, I just want to say thank you again for watching the video. I truly want to be inspiring for all the artists out there to grab some of these ideals, all the ideals, and apply them and make something wonderful. If you find value in this video, please subscribe, like, and even comment. It really helped my channel. Until the next video, I love YouTube. Bye-bye.